get started. Welcome to Coffee with Christy and Crew. Ignore my voice today because I woke up a little under the weather. So I'm going to try to do less talking than I normally do. And while we're waiting, we still have a couple people popping on. I'm just going to give you our upcoming schedule so you have it. We have the 10 Secrets of a Mega EA class coming October 25th, 26th virtually. We're doing it in the afternoon. So if you are West Coast, you can participate this time. We also have Rock Referrals Like a Boss on December 7th with Jerica Contos, which is an amazing class. It's the third time we've done it this year, and we've gotten fabulous feedback that it works. So if you guys are looking to amp up your referrals next year, sign up for that. Reminder that the retreat promos end October 31st. So any of you who are looking into group coaching or one-on-one coaching and you want to learn about that, reach out to me. Okay, so I'm Christy Belt-Grossman. I'm the owner of Ops Boss Coaching. Welcome to Coffee with Christy and Crew, which is our monthly mastermind. We usually just pick a topic, and we started out with coaches masterminding, and we decided to open that up to whoever wants to join us. So this time we're going to talk about the retreat, and I know I see some familiar faces. Some of you were at the retreat. I think you're here either because you missed the retreat and you want to share in the learning. Maybe you attended the retreat and you want to keep that excitement going and have some accountability around it. Or maybe you're thinking about coming next year and you don't even know what the retreat is and you want to learn more about it. So go ahead and type a 1, a 2, or a 3 in the chat. 1, did you miss the retreat and you want to share in the learning? 2, did you attend the retreat? Or 3, you're deciding whether you want to come next year. Okay. So we invited a few attendees, and then I see there's some other attendees. So I'm just going to throw the questions out there, and we're going to just share around it. So first of all, for those of you who haven't been before or you want to share in the learning, let me just give you the quick weekend recap, and then I'm going to throw it to the attendees. So Friday, we had masterminds. We had the interview with Emmy Stewart, who is a 14-year-old national elite gymnast. We had the keynote from Dan Stewart, the owner of Happy Grasshopper, called The Gift. We had social hour, and we had mastermind dinners. Saturday, we had stretching and affirmations. We had critical conversations with Jess Woodbeck. We had the quest for talent with Lindsay Soprani. We had a panel on conquering the AI frontier. We had a presentation on the ROI of operations. We had a presentation from Ken Posick on which game are you playing. We had breakout sessions. So I'm hoping you guys all attended different ones. And then we had a panel on perfectly imperfect partnership. And then Sunday, we flipped to personal growth. And we had the mirror of possibilities, reflection. We had self-care with Susie Tobias. We had systems to turn your and into your or into an and so that you can have a big business and a big life. And then we had map to wealth building. And then of course we had our scavenger hunt. Are any of the winners of the scavenger hunt on here? I know we had Alicia, you were third place, right?
Yeah, third place with my 3 hardcore ladies that went so hard.
That was awesome. I know you guys are competing against tables with 5 and 6 people. So that was pretty impressive that your table of 3 came in third. That was very, very bossy. Okay, so I'm going to ask you I don't know if we had any first time attendees. If you were a first time attendee, I'm curious, why did you come? If you're a repeat attendee, why did you come the first time? And why did you come back this time? So let's just start there, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the ahas. So whoever wants to unmute, we're a small group, just unmute and go for it.
I'll unmute and go. This is Jennifer. I'm from Ponte Vedra Beach outside the Jacksonville area with Keller Williams. I came because Katie Halleck told me I had to. And she sent it to a bunch of us DOOs in our region. And I immediately responded and said, oh my God, I've been looking for something that's specifically just for DOOs, because if I go to Mega Camp or Family Reunion, I might get one class that's geared towards my role, but this was an entire weekend and I was like, I'm in.
Awesome.
yeah.
Good. Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other first time attendees? We'll do you guys first. I don't know. I think everybody else is repeat. Sarah, did I see Sarah somewhere? Oh,
Yeah, I'm here.
First time, I think.
Yes, I was a first time attendee. And it was great. Stephanie's my coach and she suggested I go, and Susan, my rainmaker, wanted me to go, and I was apprehensive, but kind of along the same lines, as Jennifer said. I felt like it was a better fit for me than going to maybe a family reunion or a mastermind, sales or mega camp. So I think, and it was wonderful. I truly enjoyed networking with everybody and hearing all the different systems and ideas and things that they all do. So it was great.
Love it. So the first time attendees, what I'm hearing is it's because it was kind of like all ops, and most things we go to are not just for us. I love that. Okay, repeat attendees. Why did you come back?
Kirsten Pataki. I am from the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area in North Carolina. This is my 4th year. And I came to begin with because my rainmaker actually nominated me for the scholarship the first year, and I won. And I came, and I come back every year and I look forward to it. It's the one time of year I look forward to, because it's an amazing place for sharing. There's so much sharing, and there's so much knowledge and experience. And I just come back with just re-energized, I guess is what it is. It's like the one time of year that I really feel re-energized, and I love being with like-minded people and being able to talk through the challenges, and get advice. And I always just learn so much, and I just grow my tribe every year.
Awesome. Thank you. Ellen Marie, what were you going to add?
I mean, really the same thing. The like-minded group is what started getting me there. Like, okay, I need to be surrounded by people who are thinking like me, who want to improve the system, build the system. And then as I kept coming back year after year, sometimes it's different. Sometimes it's, just networking, relationship building. And sometimes I want to focus on myself a little bit during the weekend. And you get that as well, which is really awesome. So the mix of it keeps me coming back for sure. And mostly the people.
I love that. Yeah, because to be our best selves at work, we have to be healthy all the way around. We're big believers in that. So I love that you mentioned that too. Okay, so let's talk about ahas or takeaways. And as you said, we had multiple parts of the weekend. We had some that was business, we had some that was personal. And then we have what I think is the most important is not actually what you do at the conference. It's outside the room. We always call it the conversation in the hallway, right? It might be the conversation in the hallway during the event, or at dinner, or at breakfast, or while you're working out in the morning. So let's throw out this question. What was your biggest business aha or takeaway? Whoever wants to share, just go ahead.
Is it too much sharing if I go again?
Go for it.
Okay, so because I'm so excited. My biggest aha was looking for opportunity in everything that we're doing. So I came back and I'm like, okay, what are we doing really well that we're going to create a class on? And sometimes I come back like a whirlwind. I'm like, you do this, we're doing the class. But it was just the opportunity within things that we're already doing was my biggest takeaway.
So give us what were some of the examples of that?
So my favorite example, I think the easiest to implement, is offering your services, TC services, to a co-op agent. It can be used as a recruiting tool. It could be used as just a relationship building. It can be used to get the deal done. And I don't think every agent will take advantage of it, but we work with the same agents a lot and get a lot of compliments. So that's what clicked in my head, like, okay, we should be charging for this and maybe create some opportunity there.
Yeah, could create additional profit for the team. Love that. Okay, who else had ahas on the business side? Ahas or takeaway?
I'll go if you like. So a couple that I had, along the same lines, creating opportunities that are already there. So one of the things, I can't remember who was talking about it, but we were talking about our database. I think it was the ROI of the ops of operations, and talking about the database and making sure you have all their points of contact, right? To make sure that that 32 touch, and it seems very obvious, and like if you don't, they're not getting it all. But we never really went back and looked at that. And so actually, while I was at the retreat, I was scurrying, checking to see, how many of our Mets do we not have 4 points of contact of? And we only had it for 50% of them. So that means 50% of our Mets are getting our, 36 touch, and everybody else is just getting bits and pieces of it. So I felt like that was a really good opportunity for our team to make sure we can start capturing all of that information and implementing.
I love that. And now you know your exact numbers and you can set a goal around it. If you have 50%, you can have a very specific measurable goal around that. Yeah, I liked that. I liked that presentation too, because they basically gave us a checklist. That was number one on the checklist, I think, was the complete information. But I think it was like 6 or 7 different items you could do to tweak up to make sure you're getting a 1 out of 10 from your database. I see Alicia nodding ahead. Alicia, do you want to add anything on the business side? Oh, Sarah, wait, before we go on from you, you said you had a couple things.
I know, it's funny, I did say that. And then as I was saying my one, I think I forgot my others. So I might come back.
Okay, we'll go to Alicia then.
That was one of my big ones, was just we're doing pies right now, and I'm getting a lot of pushback on, well, if they don't have 4 points of contact, how do I market to these people? So that was a big one, and it brought back solid evidence, something I was doing. So that was super helpful and timely for me. But my biggest is Lindsay Stefani talked about recruiting, and we want to grow our team. We are ops heavy, and I love it, but we can support 10 agents, and I want 10 agents. So we're going to take her entire plan, and we've already got the blessing from the market center to run it in 2024. And I'm going to R&D the heck out of that thing. And I don't care if it's me, my rainmaker, or a director of sales that shows up. Somebody once a month is going to be at the market center to talk personality types and not talk recruiting, but talk value and show how we can show up for agents and not recruit them per se.
So Alicia, share a little bit about that for those who were not at the retreat, the general concept of what she shared with us.
Yeah, so it's a value add, right? So if you're on a team, you want to bring people in that see your value. When her thing is give them the disc, give them the KPA, right? That's their little tagline to come in and spend that event going through that with them and saying, are you ops? Are you an agent? And getting them to feel that role. They're not just learning about themselves, they're feeling bonded to what you're telling them about themselves. So if they want to continue that conversation to learn, okay, I'm interested in real estate. And for us, we're going to say market center fit for team fit, right? And you can kind of expand upon what you're offering and try and bring people in, not that we're going after, but now are seeing, oh, I am an agent. Oh, I do like the value that they brought. I do want to apply, and building a bench for ops. At some point, we're going to need more operations people. And Lindsay had a great stat. I don't know if it was great. It was very interesting, but ops people stick around for 18 months. When you tell them that they're important and they might have a spot, there was 18 months that they'd be willing to hang around and hang on the line to join your team if they were invested. We could build a great bench with that information.
Yeah, I love that. And it's different. It's not what everybody else is doing, right? Yeah, loved it. Awesome. Okay, who else attended and has a business side aha or takeaway or a repeat person?
I have a couple, but just kind of seconding just kind of seconding a few there, but we're actively hiring right now as well for agents. And I can't remember if it was Lindsay or if it was in maybe one of our little that first day, our little getting to know our table. Yeah. But talking about, working out and with your OP and your team leader, making sure that they know, if there are agents that are applying and we're getting these applications and we're seeing that they have potential, but they just aren't quite a right culture fit, if you will, for our team, that we're going ahead and giving them to, referring them over to the market center so that as you said, Alicia, we're not actually in the market center recruiting, but when agents see us in there, we're getting, we're more involved on the ALC and we're in there all the time, and they approach us, then it's not, it's not a conflict of interest, or if you will, or any issues for an agent to join our team, because we are giving back threefold opportunities for the market center to recruit. So
awesome.
That was one. And the other one was Jess. When she was talking about communication and critical conversations. I know that, and I'm the first one to say this is definitely a continuing growth opportunity for me. But even, coming back, and this morning I actually was talking with my rainmaker, and we were talking about that from actually a leadership standpoint, and doing like practice, role playing, and really all of us getting more, looking into that a little bit deeper, because nobody's perfect at it, but it's also, we each have our own little nuances that need to be, ironed out for those conversations. And I just loved how she took like the 3 ingredients: curiosity, empathy, and courage, and, how she showed how those actually show up, in the conversation. So that was.
Are you guys, for those of you who weren't there, this is the book. Exactly what to say for real estate agents. So she was one of the original certified guides by Phil. I thought that was awesome too. Good. Anything else you want to add, Kirsten, on the business side, or anybody else?
Hey, I just want to say, I read that book on my flight home. You said it was like a 75-minute read, and I'm like, all right, I got this. So I think I have like maybe 12 more pages. But at our market center, my rainmaker had started, when after the pandemic, when everyone was like, oh God, what are we going to do? It's always all gloom and doom. She started a mastering conversations get together for like 12 agents that maxes out. And they do it the first and third Thursday of every month. And it is still ongoing because agents just love it. They love that they can collaborate together and they can have role playing together, and it just keeps going. And so when I came home and brought that book in, she was like, I want to read that book. I said, well, I still have 12 pages, so you're going to slow down. But yeah, everyone wants to read that book. So it was really great.
Well, that's good. And it's not just salespeople that are having those critical conversations. It's us on the operations side just as much, whether it's with each other on the team, with our vendors, or with our clients. We're having those conversations on a daily basis. And just a few of those rephrasings I thought that she gave us were just really powerful. Okay, so let's move over to the personal side. Any takeaways, ahas on the personal side?
I'll say a quick note on the personal side about what we were just talking about, which is that I don't know if anyone here attended Jess Woodbeck's breakout, but she went through a lot of scenarios where she was actually using those words in conversation that you have personally as well, with your children, with your significant other, with a friend, which was really powerful as well. It's not even just business on that.
The magic words, she calls them, right? What other personal ahas, takeaways, inspirations, learnings?
I liked what Mackenzie talked about with the why you need to take a week at a time off, about that it takes you 2 days to relax from being off, and then it takes you the last 2 days that you're off, you're getting anxiety and internalizing going back. And so, I know I should do it, but like having those facts, I think, is helpful to have. Like, okay, I'm not just taking a week off because I'm supposed to take a week off once a quarter. It's like, oh, I'm taking it off because this is the purpose, and this is the
This
science.
is what's happening in my brain during that time.
Yeah.
Was that in a breakout in the top hacks breakout?
I think it was on the panel I was on, because I'm trying to remember how I was seeing her when she said it. I think she was on the top hacks.
On the panel.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Love that. Yeah, I know for myself on that, I think everybody kind of has a different rhythm. But there is scientific evidence behind your ability to be creative, your ability to problem solve, all of that stuff that would support what you just shared. I know for me, I need longer. I need longer than a week. I'm wired up. It takes me a long time to wind down. So I think everyone has to find their rhythm, but it's really important that you do. What other personal ahas or takeaways?
Mine came from the last day. It was the map to wealth building. We talked about like some investment properties. And I just bought my first house and I was in Buffy's seat of like, how do I buy something this expensive? I've got all this debt and I've got all these things, and it seems just like a brick wall that I can't run through, even working in real estate. This is unobtainable. And after buying, I sat down and was like, it was me. I was the one putting the unobtainable label on it. It wasn't unobtainable. I was uneducated. So we've taken that. We have an influx of immigrants in New Hampshire where we're located, and we're doing a home buying is for everyone. And we're bringing actually speakers in to translate into different languages to show people that you can buy a house. It doesn't matter if you're first generation. It doesn't matter if you speak English. It doesn't matter necessarily like what your background is. Everybody can own and buy their own house and feel safe and secure. And it was like this big light bulb moment for me to feel like there are other people in the world that felt that way, but how do I take that feeling and make sure that nobody is on an island on their own feeling that same way anymore?
I love that. I so love that. And you should reach out to one of our coaches. Jerica Contos implemented a program last year, if you haven't already talked to her, where they did exactly that. And she's had multiple people buy their first home.
Yes, I love it.
So that's awesome. Anything else on the personal side?
I have three quick ones.
Okay, go
They
for
can
it.
be quick. Okay, just Rodney. I think for me, I mean, you hear it all the time, but life really
So
is
for
finite.
those who weren't here, tell us, what was Rodney?
Rodney was the Birdman. He came from very, had a very hard child, or when he was a child, he had a hard time. He got into drugs. He was in prison, and a lot of his friends and family were also involved in that. And he talked about how much loss that he's had. And it just, you think about when we lose people, but it just was shocking to hear him say that, and just to see what he's overcome, and for him to see that he's found like his peace, like his home, and what makes him happy, which is he is a sanctuary, and he has a beautiful owl and falcon, and but coming out of that, it was just the reminder that life is finite, and that we really have, I really just have to stop taking certain things for granted. And I need to start really being conscious about living in the now and not putting off things because of there's some, like you said, Alicia, like for you you were putting the label, it was unobtainable, but that wasn't the case. So just doing that. That's what I got from him.
I think that, it's interesting that topic came up from multiple speakers. I loved Amina Basic's comment about, I won't say it right, but it was something along the lines of time is our most precious currency. It was just a good reminder. And she was talking about business, and yet the same thing applies. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And just having that reminder, because like, I know we all know that, but you just forget and you just take that for granted. So the other thing was Steph Brackett and the People Analyzer. I mean, I didn't get it all written out when I was there, but I really thought, I've really been thinking about that a lot, and how, gosh, if I how much there are the people that draw from you, that take from you, your energy and everything. And if I didn't have that as much as I do with certain people, and I instead was being around someone else that was filling me with energy, filling my bucket, what a difference it would make in my life. And
Yeah,
then,
I love that one too. So for those of you who were not at the retreat, Steph's brought to us an exercise where you basically write down the 5 people you spend the most time with down one side. Across the top, you write your 5 top personal values, whatever those are, and then you score each person. I forget what this, if it was 1 to 5 or 1 to 20, something like that. And then you add up the numbers, and there will be some ones where you're like, wow, that person has a really low score in the things that I value. And it may not be that, oh, I'm going to take that person out of my life, because it might be your best friend that you grew up with all your whole life. But it may be, well, I want to actually spend a little bit less time with her, even though I love her to death, and spend a lot more time with someone who fits into what my values are. So it was a concrete way to measure. You always hear that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but it was a real concrete exercise around that. I like that. It was
eye-opening, is really, because you don't, And then was the another one from Steph was just that, what did she say? That your work or your business is 20% should fit into your business is 20% should fit into your personal 80%. Isn't that what you said?
Your business is part of your personal 80%.
80%.
I think is what she
so
said.
Your business, and making sure that you're putting your personal 20% on your calendar. And I used to be very good at keeping personal stuff on there. My calendar is insane looking, but I went ahead and did it and started to do that. Like as soon as I got home, that was it. Like putting it in the morning, like if you have a morning routine, put it on your calendar. I mean, and if you have things like she spends whatever evenings with her grandkids, that's on the calendar. And so I started to do that right away so that I can start making sure that it's there. I make sure I do my abiding by my time blocks for business. And so this will help me to keep that.
I love that. I have a coaching client, what we talked about doing this week, because she liked that as well. She's now color coding her Google Calendar with 4 colors only. 20% business, 80% business, 20% personal, 80% personal, and then using the Google Insights to see how much time she's actually spending at the end of the week in each of those areas. So she can be very clear and make good decisions around it.
And that is exactly what happened when I actually have more color because I wear many different hats. So I have a color coded for each different role that I'm carrying right now that hopefully will be leveraged soon. But and when I clicked the insights button, it was very, it was very telling. So there's definitely some shifts that need to be made, I think. But I never thought about clicking that and looking at that insights before.
And in case you did, every version of Google doesn't have it. So there's some workarounds you can use if you don't have it. But yeah, it's nice if you already have it in there. Okay. Anything else, Kirsten, on the personal side?
Nope,
okay. All right. Favorites. Favorite part. What was your favorite part of the weekend? What was your favorite session? Could be inside, outside the weekend. And then after that, we'll move to action items and implementation.
Somebody who's been for 3 years, my first year, my rainmaker forced me and planned a dinner, and that was terrifying, and I was really uncomfortable. And this year I went to 3 of them and planned one on my own with people that were repeats. And instead I found a group of ladies that at dinner the first night lovingly yelled at me because I needed multiple voices to tell me you don't value yourself in business. Like, what are you doing? And I got a text message earlier this week, like, hey, did you have that conversation with your rainmaker yet about your value? Oh, this is, uncomfortable, but it has to be one of my favorite parts now. And it's grown from this really uncomfortable, I don't know anybody, I don't know what's going on. let me just stay away from it and get what I can out of it. And now I'm like, how many more people and dinners can I go to? And how many more people can I meet?
Love that. I have to tell you, that was always my strategy when I go to places, because I'm a huge introvert and it terrifies. I'm like 6 years old. It still terrifies me to do that. But if I plan ahead, it's not as terrifying. So we try to make it easy for those of you who are coming in who don't know people, because many people coming, at least 50%, are typically first timers who don't know anybody. So we have people volunteer like Alicia to say, I'm going to make a dinner reservation. We have table for 6 or table for 8, and here's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Y'all are welcome to join. So it's very casual and informal. So I love that. And I love the accountability piece around that they're holding you accountable. Who else wants to share? Favorite part of the weekend or favorite session or whatever?
I think it's also, there's a lot of people that are there that we mastermind together. We see each other at mega camp and family reunion and all that. But, that one-on-one time or that face-to-face time, there's still stuff to learn. Like I found out Jerica and I are both like huge art nerds. And like, we were like talking about our favorite museums and things like that hadn't ever come up before. So I think, again, piggybacking on that with the dinners and everything, just even with the people really well, that face-to-face time brings new things. And yeah, so.
And I think, we actually spend a lot of time on Friday masterminding, and you're like, I paid all this money to just come sit around a table and talk to people for a couple hours. Does that even make sense? But we're very purposeful about that, because we know that the power in accelerating and elevating your career is in direct proportion to the relationships that you have. So if we can create space for you to form relationships, whether it's at dinner or masterminds or working on the scavenger hunt and getting to know each other better, you all are the best resources for each other to elevate your businesses and to elevate your lives. So that's exactly why we do that. Because like Angie said, even though you see each other at other events, or you may have a Slack channel like you guys do and you're masterminding all the time, there's something different about being in person. So I love that you said that. Anyone else want to share on favorite part of the weekend?
I'll share real quick, Christy. I can't remember who it was, whether it was Ken or Scott, but it's kind of what we're talking about right here. They said whoever has the most conversations wins. So that's true not only in business, but as we were just saying, when you then start taking it outside of to the masterminds, outside of the meetings, it's like, again, those conversations, the more people you meet, it's just helps layer on top of everything. So great ways to increase and improve.
Yep. I love that. Exactly. Okay, let's talk about action, because we're all about action. And don't sign off the call right now, because I want to hold you accountable. What have you already implemented, business or personal? If you were there.
So,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Who did I cut off now?
No, go ahead, Elmarie.
I'll go real quick. So something I implemented and I just finished today was using more chat GPT with the team. So making sure they're aware of all the capabilities that it has. And I also was able to do, someone mentioned it at the retreat, about having a team activity for the agents to create their bios. It's been a task in my brevity for weeks. I don't know how long. It's embarrassing. I just keep pushing it out for me to create a bio for everyone. I'm like, I'll get to this. But I got all 12 bios today in 15 minutes. And they were amazed, and it was fun, and some were new to it, some weren't. So it was an easy activity, but something I did right away.
So I loved that. I don't remember whose aha it was at the retreat, but to take everything you learn at the retreat and turn it into a class and either teach your team or I love that. Now, Elmarie, you can take that and go use that for recruiting and invite a bunch of agents and get 50 agents in a room. Hey, you're going to walk out with your bio, this, and you're going to learn about AI.
Love it.
I love that you implemented that already. What else have you guys actually implemented? We're 1 week past.
I'll talk from one for personal. Something that really resonated with me was the financial conversations that we were having on Sunday around wealth building and just knowing kind of what your net worth is and knowing where you're spending your money. And so that was one thing I came home and talked to my husband about, because he does track a lot of that stuff, but we don't really ever look at it and talk about it. And we have kind of been on like a spending spree, it feels like, where you're just like, sure, buy it, sure, whatever. And it's like that's, so we had a long conversation when I got back about kind of reeling that in, focusing on what our goals are. What do we want to do next year? What do we want to get done? And kind of planning for that. So that was something that I took away from a personal perspective that was, that I've implemented already.
I love that. Yeah. So getting more purposeful. I mean, it's interesting because we're all very purposeful and detail oriented in our businesses, right? I'm betting that most of you guys are tracking numbers and conversion ratios and your P&L and all the things. And are we taking all those tools we are using at work and using them at home? And it may be that we also need to use those tools to help our teammates on the personal side. Right. So maybe I've got all my investing in P&L and wealth building in order, but how can I help my teammates also improve their lives? That was an awesome one, Sarah. Thank you. Who else has actually implemented and wants to share something they've put in place?
I'll go. So one of our breakout masterminds, we were talking about newsletters, and we were talking about the different platforms that you can use for newsletters. And I realized just how much we were spending for MailChimp and not really getting a return because of the number that you only had XYZ you could use. So someone mentioned Flowdesk. So not only are we saving money, but we have unlimited number of users and unlimited number of sends. So that just opened up a world of possibilities and actually expanded our 36 touch, because now we can actually go out to more of like a 52 or larger, like the Reynolds team talked about while we were there. And then actually Alicia and I have a kind of accountability between the two of us to do career nights. So we need to put that on the calendar for the two of us to discuss that just as a one-on-one for, the two of us to stay on task.
Love that. I love that. Also that accountability. I know there's other people on this call that are still doing masterminding with people from several years ago at the retreat. And I get messages every year from people who are still masterminding. So I love that. Any other action items? Jennifer, Kirsten, Angie, I'm just looking who else was here.
So I have 4 that I've actually implemented, and 3 were like super simple, quick to do. Like in our team meetings for our office, we always talk about wins, but we never do as a team. So I was like, well, I'm just going to add a channel on Slack for wins. So we did that. I have a big sign on my office door now that says time blocking in progress, do not enter. So, and people see it and they're like, oh, they turn right back around. So I've started actually time blocking. I use the statements a lot that I think it was Jess that had talked about, like, would you be open-minded to, and on a scale of 1 to 10. And I actually used those 2 today with a seller when I had to meet him at his house. So I like those, but the big one that I've always had a problem with checklists and how it would notify me that I had an action item due. And somebody mentioned Asana, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try this one too. And now I have fallen in love. I talk about Asana every day. So yeah.
That makes Angie happy.
Yeah.
Okay, Kirsten, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I'm an Asana lover too. So say that. I would say, I said I'm starting, redoing my calendar and getting very focused on my time. Another thing is that I'm starting an ops mastermind in my market center. I tried to several years ago. We were very small and there were really only 2 of us. So it wasn't a lot, but it has grown, and I spoke with my OP and we're going to start a mastermind. So I'm working on using my notes and some of the, my ahas and things like that in building out agendas and planning for that.
Awesome. Good. Get
Then-
those people to the retreat next year. Angie?
Just a pointer for you, Kristen, because I have somehow become the de facto manager of our mastermind group, and it's helpful. What's really kind of gotten people energized this fall in our group is we pick topics and we have them scheduled out, but bringing in some guest speakers. So like when we were talking about recruiting and retention, Lindsay hopped on the call with us, and then we just did one on DISC, and Jen Napoli is a DISC trainer, and so she hopped on the call with us. And so if you start to feel the energy lagging in the group, sometimes that, bringing in an expert, and again, the Facebook group is a great place to post and say, hey, we want to mastermind about this. Who should we ask to join that can really level up our conversation?
That's great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good tips. And feel free to reach out to coaches too. You have an awesome coach. I'm sure that would be happy to talk. Okay, question I get a lot is, how come you guys combine, why isn't it all business? I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this whole, you do business and then you do personal growth. And also you guys have some really kind of weird speakers. We had Birdman, who was a former drug dealer, and we had a 14-year-old elite national gymnast. She's 14. Tell me your thoughts around that. Those of you who have been and you've experienced, we've had all kinds. We had somebody that prosecuted the DC sniper. We had a Down syndrome advocate who has Down syndrome himself. We've had all kinds of different types of speakers. We've done all kinds of different types of activities on our personal growth day. We've done art activities. We've painted rocks. We've done poetry. We've whatever. Why do we do that? As attendees, what has spoken to you about that?
Well, again, I think we all put ourselves last. We're always trying to hold the team together, hold our lives together. I'm trying to hold my book club in my neighborhood together, all of that stuff. So I think it's being with other people that have those same issues, sort of giving you permission to say, no, this isn't right. I need to fix this. I need to, stop ignoring the elephant in the room.
Love that. What else?
Excuse me.
Oh, go ahead, Cindy.
Go ahead,
No, I was
Cindy.
just going to say, I concur with what she was saying, is that, especially from an ops standpoint, you guys are the people that drive the bus. And so you're always, it seems like, and that's part of the job, is putting the team first, putting the goals first, putting everything else first. But what I love about when you mix in all these other things is it lets us all see that, one, we have all these things in common. We all want the same, growth. We all want to become better versions of ourselves. And by talking to all these different people who came from all these diverse different backgrounds, it shows that there's strengths in every single one of them. And we all have those strengths if we would take the time to just stop. And I love the mirror exercise where you looked in the mirror and say, I'm perfectly capable of all this as well. And I think that needs to especially be, fed into this group of people, because this group of people, probably more than anybody else, gives more, and they need to start filling more.
Love it. Thanks, Cindy. Alicia.
I just like the different voices, right? You get so many stories, and I think that there's a lot of these personal stories that come out that tie to business, but it's not sitting there and listening about business the entire time too. So somebody that likes different thoughts, and I think in a very different way than just hearing people say points. I like the conversations where I get to dig and find what they're trying to tell us, and where that relates to me personally or relates back to the business. It's way more open-ended, and I think that you can reach a lot more people than sitting down and saying, here's how we can do something great for business that may or may not work in your market. And we talk about personal things and big business that just all filters down to, I could take a sentence out, I could take the whole entire conversation out.
Yeah, I have to say, I loved listening to my coach, Dan Stewart, on Friday talk about the gift. Of course, I had to remind him of the rap, the reason why I loved what he talked about. So he shared a story about basically getting shipwrecked when he was in second grade and being on a ship for 2 days, thinking they were going to die with sharks swimming below them, only to get saved by the Coast Guard 2 days later and realize the sharks had no interest in them because they were above this amazing reef and there was plenty of food on the reef. But how many times do we look at the sharks and notice everything around us and live in this fear mode instead of just focusing on what we need to do? And I was like, that's personal, that's business, that's like all of the things. But having the story to go with it, not just the system or the checklist, that's how I internalize it. So I think that was kind of a little bit what you were saying too. Brooke, were you going to say something?
I was just thinking how funny it is. The 14-year-old gymnast that was his daughter also talked about her, kind of fail forward when she went to nationals. And she talked about how she was so worried about all the eyes that were on her instead of focusing on herself and what she knew how to do, that she ended up messing up at nationals. And I'm like, man, that's so funny. It's just like the sharks and being worried about the sharks when you weren't worried about, you shouldn't have been in the first place. But, it's interesting. There are so many business takeaways from the 14-year-old, but also that personal takeaway that can be applied to business and personal, of being worried about yourself and focusing on what you do know how to do and what you are skilled at and what your strengths are, instead of all the eyes that are on you and what other people are doing at the competition.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved when I asked her, because I don't think I had asked her, I did a pre-interview with her, but I liked it to be unscripted so we don't really prepare too much. I had no idea that she had 5 coaches when I asked her how many coaches she had. And she said she has 5 coaches who they're all for different skills. She's a gymnast, right? So one is for bar and one is for beam and all that stuff. But when I asked her what the most important thing they do for her, she said they help me get over my fears. And I was like, that's the same as like what we do, with our clients. So I love that. Okay, last question I get all the time. I get the rainmaker question. Why would a rainmaker or a team owner or a business owner, we have lots of different businesses that come here, or a TC company owner, why would they want to invest in either sending themselves, if they're a TC company owner, or sending their director of operations or their COO? Why would they want to invest in that? What's the ROI for them? That's a question I get a lot. What would you guys say to that? Those of you who have been before.
I think my rainmaker probably emailed you, Christy, pretty recently and said, I
She
love
did.
when Alicia comes back from Ops Boss because she is on fire. And like I get jazzed about systems. I don't think that anybody on this call is not gonna feel that, right? But there's something different about coming back and like having a notebook of all of your ideas and sitting down on that, for me, flight home, and saying, what are my action items? Who do I need to talk to? And what do I need to learn more about? And then I'm like her when she gets home from family reunion. I was like, look at this shiny thing. Look at all of this. And it flows into her like love and gratitude of like, ooh, you have this passion for learning. You want to continue learning. And we haven't put a specific ROI to coming to Ops Boss, but I'm sure we could easily find it, because each year I have that list of action items. And before I go back, more than 75% need to be done for me to feel like I have achieved what I wanted to do from the last time I was at Ops Boss.
I love that. So I will challenge you, Alicia, this year to hold yourself accountable and tell me that number when you come back next year. What is the ROI of this year's retreat in terms of what you specifically implemented? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I saw nodding from you, Michelle. Anything you want to add about why a team owner would invest?
So my team leader is known as the mad scientist in this world. Like his brain just kind of goes all over the place and he's not operations focused. Like systems, Excel spreadsheets, they drive him crazy. So when I come back and like Alicia said, like I've got my little pink notebook with me right now, and I've got my checklist in the back with like my tabs that are like people I need to connect with, things that I need to do, apps that I need to learn more about. So I come back with all this stuff. And then I even said to him after that AI panel, I was like, this would be really cool to give back to our strategic partners who are also in the business of getting clients and need to know what AI can do for them. I'm like, why don't I take what I learned and give back to them just as much as they give back to us? So now we're in the process of doing either like a happy hour or some sort of like seminar on AI so that they get some ROI from me as well. But like Alicia, I do the same thing. I have my checklist and I always look at it and go, okay, if at least 70% gets done, especially if there's like bigger projects on there, if 70% gets done, then I'm golden. And I feel like I've earned my right to come back, because it is like an earned right? It's an investment. And I feel like I need to earn that right year over year.
Love that. And I'll challenge you the same thing, Michelle, to quantify that, right? Because we can say we did 70% of our idea list, but if those ideas were not ideas to move our business forward financially, then, and it could be life. You can't necessarily put your life action items in dollars and cents. Those might be a little bit more priceless. Anybody else on that question? Why would a team owner want to invest? Okay. Last question is, if you came this year, are you coming next year? And what are you doing to ensure you can come? I think you guys just kind of answered that, Alicia and Michelle. Anybody else want to talk about how you budget for that and plan for that and earn your way? What if somebody's on the call who isn't sure how to have that conversation with their rainmaker? They really want to come next year. They want to make sure they can come. How would you advise them to make sure that they can earn the right to be invested in?
I would say one thing is tracking. Just, I mean, just through being a part of the Ops Boss community, is how I've learned about that was in the very beginning, one of my first biggest ahas was the ROI. Like, really, what am I? I mean, how am I I'm not bringing in closings. So how am I contributing? And when you start to track and making lists, when you list out the systems that you're building, even sometimes the smallest things to make your processes more efficient, all of those are making you more valuable to the team. And a lot of them I've learned through Ops Boss. So right there, that just says, that I happen to have a rainmaker who's a huge advocate for coaching. So he was the one that, wanted me to come, and because he knew Christy before I joined the team. So, but that's what I would say is, start to look at and track and document. Because when you start to put it down on paper, it really does make sense. And then being able to show and say, through this, we increased our whatever, this year.
Yeah, so specifically documenting and tracking what income your systems are producing, either executing systems or creating new systems, or incrementally improving. Like somebody mentioned database. Sarah, you can track like how much did I get from our database last year and how much, let's set a goal around this year. When we hit this goal, then I've earned the right to come because we've generated X amount more income to the team. So of course you would want to go and learn how to do more things to do that. All right, so you can set specific goals around that. Anyone else have anything else they want to add? Takeaways, ahas, questions? You guys are on the calls.
I was just going to say on the getting it on your schedule for next year, if you're building the budget, build it into the budget. And then you need to find a way to make it work in the budget. And then you can have that conversation. Another, like for me, as part of my contract, have an education allowance for the year, and I get to decide how to use that. for 2023, when I was forecasting, I knew we were going to be way down. And so one of the things I did, I said, okay, like I'm going to give up the rest of my budget, but I'm keeping, a third of it for Ops Boss or whatever the number was. And so it's not that I don't make sacrifices for the team when everybody else is, but, then, it's a way to contribute, but it's also a way for you guys to, if you just talk about that like set number and figure out how to make that work, then it just becomes, instead of justifying this class or this conference or whatever, it's you investing in your learning where you need to learn.
And it's just like planning your personal time by the end of the year for next year. Are you planning out your vacations? You should also plan out your training or your conferences or whatever you're doing to invest in yourself. That should be set on the calendar. So you're going to plan for the budget. You're going to plan for the calendar. We don't have dates yet. Brooke will drop a link in here for early notification list. Our coaching clients have first access to tickets, and then we'll go out and give people early notification. We're still debating September, October, and we're still evaluating all the surveys that are coming back in with the feedback about weekday, weekend. I think it's skewing towards weekend again, even though I know there were some people interested in weekday. So as soon as we know the dates, we will let you know. Thank you guys for all joining in today. I hope to see all of your faces there next year. We're really excited. It will be our 7th year next year. That feels like a lucky number. I don't know. So have a great day. Keep implementing. If you guys who attended want additional accountability, feel free to use the Facebook group. That's what it's there for. There are bossy people in there that will hold you accountable. So just post in there what you're committing to and when you need to be checked with, and somebody will follow up with you. So have a great week and take a lot of action. Thank you guys for sharing all your insight today.